Hey everyone, on today's episode of Hubris Syndrome, we're talking about the games of September. Hey everyone, welcome to the show. We are talking about the games of September. We got indies, we got strategies, we got blockbusters, we got sports, we got it all, so let's dive right in.
Dad's winter crystal?
First up on September 1st, Ari and the Secret of Seasons. A little indie game coming out, and you play as Ari trying to restore the seasons to the land of Valdi, and I really just like the look of this game. There's a bunch of platforming, you're forging alliances, so bonds, there's boss fights, it looks like there's some puzzles involved with the platforming as well, there's towns. I'm really just feeling the entire vibes and emotions of this one, so this is one to watch. Next on September 1st is a double dose of strategy. First is Crusader Kings 3. There hasn't been a Crusader King since number 2 in 2012, so it's been a long time coming. PC Gamer just did a video about big improvements on it, so if you're interested, check that out. And then that same day is Iron Harvest, which is more real-time strategy. Crusader Kings is grand strategy. So if you want a double dose of grand and real-time strategy, September 1st is a day for you. Next up on September 3rd is WRC 9. You know, I think of my brother every time I see rally cars. He had an STI himself. Loved the idea of rally driving. Me too. I've always wanted to do this. I've always wanted to go to Europe and just go nuts in the snow or the dirt. My brother loved STIs. I was always a big Evolution fan. Loved the Evo 9. But WRC 9, looking good. Call Bloodworth. And then September 4th is an absolutely stacked day. First up, we have NBA 2K21. Basketball is back. We got the playoffs going on right now, so if you cannot get enough, you got NBA 2K. Like most annual franchises, if you play yearly, you might not see as many upgrades. This year promises to bring new pro stick shooting upgrades, new jump shot landings, overhauled dribble moves, so it seems like they're refining rather than completely shaking it up this year. That same day, September 4th, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2. Let's get hype. Shout out to my brother yet again. I'm thinking about No Cigar from Millencolin right now. Hyped for this soundtrack, hyped for this game. Tony Hawk 3 to me was always the culmination, but now Tony Hawk's 1 and 2 remaster plan to introduce all those later moves, reverts, spine transfers, and wall plants. I'm just ready to be Jamie Thomas and do the leap of faith. 10 out of 10, Tony Hawk, cannot wait. One of the most anticipated of the year, don't at me. And then to round things out on September 4th, Avengers Assemble. The response so far for this game has been pretty divisive. It is a huge budget, massive effort from Square Enix, Crystal Dynamics, and Eidos Montreal. So the expectations are high, as they should be. And after a few beta weekends, the response is pretty mixed. And despite my early reservations, I don't think I've ever been so hyped to swim in a 7. I am ready to just suit up as Hulk and smash with the allies. You know Brandon Jones will be there. He'll have max characters by the time this game is out. You get early access on the 1st if you pay up for the deluxe edition. Must be nice. So assume Brandon Jones to be level capped before you even hit go.
You always come together. Aren't you gonna say the thing?
What?
Avengers Assemble.
Next up on September 8th, I am so ready to give this game another chance. Kingdom of Amalur Re-Reckoning. When this game came out all the way back in 2012, I just wasn't feeling it. Confessions, I wasn't feeling it. I couldn't connect to the story, the world, the characters. I was going through a point where I needed a story. You know, grinding out gear and loot and numbers just wasn't enough at the time. But I don't feel that way now. I'm ready for some loot. I'm ready for some dopamine. Kingdoms of Amalur has a dedicated following, so I'm just so stoked. You know I love remasters, giving games a second chance. So here we are, and I'm ready to dive back in with a fresh look, fresh perspective. Then on September 15th, kind of out of nowhere, Spelunky 2. If you're familiar with the first game, it is a brutally difficult platformer with a ton of mystery, a ton of secrets. There's so much to discover in this game. You're collecting treasure, you're digging through caves, you're dodging traps, fighting enemies. There's an economy in there. So Spelunky 2, don't sleep on it. This is gonna be one of the biggest games of the year, hopefully, if all goes well. Very excited for this. Derek Yu has been plugging away on this thing. A small, very small team working on this. It almost feels like he's working on this thing alone. So Spelunky 2 coming out. Then on September 18th, after a little delay, Crysis Remastered. Maximum armor, that's all I remember. Maximum speed. This game came out all the way back in 2007, and you want to talk about showpieces? This is the ultimate showpiece. When this game came out, it made supercomputers buckle. Alienware's wept blood. Years later, I thought my computer could handle it because I went back to it like 5 years after it had been out, still buckled, still stuttered. But Crysis Remastered coming out after a little delay, people were disappointed with the look of it. You take on the role of a Delta Force soldier with an enhanced super suit, and things get real weird. The first one was really awesome because it was really open-ended, and as the series went on with 2 and 3, it was a lot more linear. So Crysis 1, I think, is still the best of the trilogy. There was a standalone expansion as well, but it'll be interesting to see how this game holds up so many years later, and if they plan on doing another one. That same day, WWE 2K Battlegrounds, after the horrendous abomination WWE 2K20, 2K is looking to shake things up, going from the recent simulation style that they've been doing over the last many years, and going with a more arcade style. To be honest, this looks kind of like a mobile game, but we'll see if they can ever recapture SmackDown or No Mercy, the glory days. Then on September 22nd, it has been a long, long wait for 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim. From Vanillaware, the team behind Odin Sphere, Muramasa the Demon Blade, and Dragon's Crown, to name a few. This is their first new release in the West since 2013. It came out in Japan last year to a positive reception, and this time instead of a fantasy setting, we are getting a science fiction setting. The game is divided between adventure side-scrolling segments and real-time strategy battles, and follows 13 high school students in a fictionalized 1980s Japan who are dragged into a futuristic war between mechs and kaiju. Somebody call Guillermo del Toro. Let's get an anime adaptation. But 13 Sentinels, really excited about this. It's been a long wait, and it's finally coming at the end of this month. Then on September 24th, Serious Sam 4. Serious Sam looking to continue the shenanigans and the craziness of the Serious Sam saga. And this one is actually a prequel to Serious Sam 3. Serious Sam 3 is actually one I've never played, but I love this series. I just love the overwhelming amount of enemies coming at you on screen, just non-stop mayhem. Ian always gets a kick out of the fact that it's from the developers of the Talos Principle, and this iteration actually has a jammer feature, which is a device similar to some kind of Talos Principle mechanics. So do you think we can get Ian on board for this? Let's try. Let's do it. And lastly, on September 25th, Mafia Definitive Edition. I'm a little worried about this one, only because of the state of Mafia 2 and 3 Remastered. They are still broken messes months later. Hangar 13 is the developer behind Mafia 3, which again, I think is the weakest of Mafia, and just everything I've seen looks a little off. Fortunately, we got some good news recently. There is Classic Mode, which is increased enemy difficulty, more punishing health recovery, but more importantly, traffic violations are enforced, and driving is set to Simulation Mode. Because what I loved so much about the original Mafia was that it is an open world without the need for endless side activities. It is there to immerse you. It is there to bring you into the world. You had to obey traffic laws. You had to drive slowly to really get into the setting. So we're pretty close to Mafia Definitive Edition. I'm just crossing my fingers, hoping that it delivers on the legendary Mafia. So that's gonna do it. Those were the games of September. I'm Michael Huber. We are Easy Allies. If you like what you saw, check us out on patreon.com. And until next week, see you later.